Third
You're
time's a
in.
charm. All right. Welcome, everybody. Today is August 25th, 2016, and this is Mastermind call number 89. This is Chad Corbett, your substitute host. Jim Sullivan, our partner, is at the Florida NAR Conference and Expo today. And Tom Ownby, my other business partner, is on the line with us. So we don't have anybody in the queue. For anybody who would like to ask a question, tell a success story, even if you're having challenges and need help. Anything goes. Press *6, and then you pause a moment, and then press 1, and that will get you in the queue. And right now we have nobody in the queue, so you're going to listen to Tom and I talk about the weather if we don't get something. I will say, just kind of do some housekeeping. I know you guys have heard us talk a lot about the new technology and the tools and everything we've been kind of building in the background, and we want to make sure that everything's right when we do roll it out. It looks like we're within probably 3 weeks of that happening. By mid-September, we've got people using it and making sure that all the bugs are worked out, and it's what we want it to be. I think you're going to be really impressed with the improvements that you see and how it helps you all but automate this entire campaign. The tools will help save you a ton of time. And there's some other more exciting data-related things that are coming behind that we've been working on as well that will help you save even more time. So we've worked on a lot of stuff, and we're very close. So thank you guys all for your patience. I know we're so excited about it. We talked about it a lot early on, and of course, development takes longer than you expect. So we're almost there. So thanks for everybody that's patient with us. We finished. I'm the trainer, so I'm going to do my part of the update there too. We finished the first kind of version 2.0 mastery class last week, and we invited alumni, people who had taken the class, over the last year, and it turned out to be without a doubt, it was the best mastery class we've ever done, just because of the participation and the input. And I changed the content to include a lot more information on the probate process itself and who the players are and the moving parts of it. And we had awesome engagement. We had brand new people who have made tons of money in probate already. So for anybody who is thinking about probate mastery, you can always look at alltheleads.com, education and training, and kind of see what the new curriculum is there. But had a great class, and thanks. I see a lot of people on the call that were in that class. Thanks so much for being with us last week. And that's about all I have. We've got two callers in the question queue. Tom, is there anything you'd like to share with the group?
No, I think we're good. I just, again, reinforce, if you need anything, please just send us an email at support@alltheleads.com, and we track those tickets and get them to the right people at the right time and get back to you as quickly as possible.
Yep. All right. Well, we've got a caller number 1. Your number ends in 4505. You are live.
Hey, Chad, it's Craig Kinchlow. How you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good, doing good. So I just started calling the last week or so, maybe 2 weeks, and the one thing that I'm getting from a lot of the people is, follow back up in a few months. We're not ready right now. So I wanted to kind of role play that or bounce some different ideas or see how you handled that.
Okay.
I don't know where you're from, how the process is, but here, typically, from the date it's filed, I guess, seems to be, 3 or 4 months until the probate's, finished, and then I guess the house can officially be closed and funds be distributed. So, I don't know if that's the main reason why people are wanting to wait, or if it's just personal reasons on top of that, or what the scenario is.
I'm hearing this more and more, and it usually comes out of California. I think it'd be helpful. Let me just walk through kind of the timeline of the probate process. So obviously somebody passes away. If there is a will, that's dying testate. If there's not a will, that's intestate. If somebody passes away testate, then the family, at some point when they're ready, they will, usually the funeral home will notify the like Social Security and the state, and that's kind of the government reporting on this. And then nothing happens until the family is ready to gather up documents, and the funeral director is going to say, okay, you need to go do this. This is called probate if you didn't have a living trust. So they'll go to the county clerk's office, typically. That's what it's called. There's a lot of different names for it, whatever it is in your market. They will sit down with, in my market, it's called a probate clerk, and that will initiate the process. And what this usually, in my market, it happens a median of 68 days from the time of death. So what that tells me is the families usually take about 2 months to process and really get to a point where they're ready to raise their hand and say, okay, world, we're ready to settle this and move on. We're certainly not completely over the loss, but we're ready to handle the business side of this because we know it has to be done. When the petition for probate is filed, and there's different names for all the documents, I'm not going to get into that granularity here, but when that's filed, that's when that's when we first see it. It's when the world knows, okay, the probate's filed. There are exceptions. Some people will file that the next day, and I've had some date all the way back to 1983. That they didn't even know they had to do probate. Nobody was, there wasn't any money in the bank. There wasn't any debt. They stayed in the house, and eventually someone said, well, hey, you got to probate this estate. So they had to go all the way back to 83. So that's kind of the process leading up to where we get the lead. Now, at the beginning of that probate process, in most states, the probate clerk is going to appoint a probate attorney or give them a list of probate attorneys to choose from. And that attorney will sit down with the family and help them fill out all the paperwork that the probate clerk gave them and start that, to get it filed. So what we're finding is in California, it seems to be the norm for every attorney, I'm not going to say every, a lot of attorneys in California are telling people, it's going to be a while before you can sell this house, so just don't do anything. So we've got houses sitting full of personal property that are getting a ton of We Buy Houses postcards. Mail just keeps piling up. The family gets stressed out about that. It's if you don't, and a lot of realtors are telling us that they were told not to do anything, so they're not going to. And it's not necessarily true, and I think it's in the family's best interest to, if they plan to sell the home, it's not in their best interest to sit around and wait. I think it would be in their best interest to get a valid contract on the home and know that there's a plan so that when you do go to court, the judge can rubber stamp it and you can go ahead and close the house and move on. Not you can list it at that point and move on. So typically, an executor is given the power by the state to do those things. So an executor can list a home at any time. They can't close any time because the court does have to approve the sale for their protection and the protection of the overall estate. But there's nothing that says you can't list it. So what I recommend is, apply pressure where you think it's needed. If you think it's in their best interest to go ahead and get the home under contract and identify a buyer, which it almost always is, and get the personal property cleaned out and get the home in good shape, then by the time they get to that point the attorney was telling them about, they'll already be to they're on the 1 yard line. So all they have to do is get the contract approved by the probate court and close. So you're doing them a great service by helping them through that process during this waiting period. Now, I said all that because, and if you want, we can role play it, but anytime I come up against that, I will apply pressure to move them in the right direction to make their life easier. If they're heavily grieving, or if there's a family member that's being really ugly and disputing a will or things like that, there's times where you just say, I feel you. I'll call you back in a month. But in most cases, that's not really going on. It's just someone has given them some advice to sit on their hands for a few months, and that's probably not the best thing for them, in my opinion. So if you want to role play through it and kind of give me what you're hearing, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I haven't been doing is like asking more questions, so not like getting some clarity as to why they want to wait, because they're just saying,
exactly.
Call back in 3 or 4 months, and then I'm just, I didn't really know what to say.
So
I'll
tell you, 9 times out of 10 for me, it's personal property, and it's what I call probate quicksand. they are so overwhelmed because the amount of emotional attachment they have to the personal property and the sheer amount of time and effort it's going to take to get a house cleaned out that a lot of people just can't process it all, and they just say they just defer it. So what they're really saying is, hey, Craig, I'm uncomfortable as hell, so I'm going to procrastinate, and you got to call me back in a couple months. Well, if that's it, if you ask why and you can get to the root of it and find out it's the personal property, well, you've got a really simple solution. How about I do all that for you? How about the personal property becomes my problem, and my goal is to get you the most amount of money and get this house empty as fast as I can so I can sell it again for the most amount of money. So you're right on there. If anytime you get that kind of an objection, well, can I call you back, or I need to talk to this person? And I don't believe in the old school sales training of, well, why do you say that, Mr. Smith? To me, it's a more authentic approach of, all right, well, listen, I like Phil Felt Found. You guys hear me talk about that all the time because empathy builds trust, right? So, well, listen, Craig, we hear that all the time, and I'll tell you that 9 out of 10 people that we speak to the first time feel the same way you do. I'm betting you're overwhelmed. It's probably the first time you've ever done this, and you just aren't sure where to start. But I'll tell you what they found. The ones that go ahead and meet with us and kind of see the whole offering that we can bring to the table, the options we can provide, and the services we can provide to take a lot of that off of your plate, what they find is that we actually can speed up the process and make it a heck of a lot more comfortable. So, I mean, if there's a time on Friday that works for you, I'm pretty flexible. Is there a time we can just, sit down for 30 minutes and talk about that?
Because I was trying to think of like the value would be either to help them get rid of the personal property or figure out what to do with the personal property, and then the other one I was thinking of is giving them a value on the property so that they have an idea of what the property's worth, as is, as well as if they make any improvements to the property.
And that's a good way to get your foot in the door, like literally. Well, listen, I can pull together a market absorption analysis, and it's really something that I don't really like to just email over, Craig, because what we do is go back 24 months, and we're going to take a 360-degree view of the market, and if I just mail it to you, it's not going to make any sense. So it'd take me just a couple hours to do it, but I do have a spot on Friday at 3. Would that be a good time to sit down and kind of talk about your options and what those prices look like? So you're offering something of value, and you're demonstrating that you're not just punching one button and spitting out an automated report. I'm going to do some work for you. So you're building trust, and it's a great way to, if people are really apprehensive, it's a great way to at least get a reason to meet them there. And then once you get there, you can impress the heck out of them by helping them understand all the things you can do, because you're always going to get further when you can look somebody in the eye,
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
always ask more questions. Always find out what the motivation is and why they're saying that. The other one that we hear is, well, it sounds good, Chad. I need to talk to my wife and my brother and just see where everybody's at on this. And I'm not going to challenge them on that. A lot of people would say, well, you're the decision maker and blah, blah. So I'm like, I really like I understand how you feel. Most of our clients feel that way. Or most of our clients have felt that way. And what they found is that we were the solution to a lot of that stress. So find your own way to say that. But it's a magical piece of language that you can use to make people feel comfortable with you. Because usually those objections they're false objections. They're just doing it because they're a little bit out of their comfort zone and they don't know you yet. And they can't say that because that's just uncivil, right? So ask good questions to uncover the real motivation there for not doing things. And sometimes it's legit. It's not always, but usually not.
Okay. So the value of them meeting with us now is putting together a plan, helping them with the